Shana Tova for everybody. Birshut Rab, with the permission of the Rabbi. And I imagine you don't want to hear a long and boring sermon, so I'll try to make sure I make a short and boring sermon. Since this is my first high holiday sermon at B'nai Tzedek, I decided to start it with a poll, or if you prefer it, with a trivia. I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to ask you to please raise your hand if you know the answer. So raise your hand if you know what is the first mitzvah of the Torah. What's the first mitzvah of the Torah? You know what's the first mitzvah of the Torah? Yes, Stuart does. Yes. Anybody else? Good. You want to take the chance? Yes? Excellent. Pru urbu, be fruitful and multiply. Pru urbu, excellent. Now, I would like to ask you to raise your hand if you know what's the last mitzvah of the Torah. What's the last mitzvah of the Torah? That's a more difficult one, yes? Last mitzvah. Okay, so the last mitzvah of the Torah is to write a Torah scroll. That's the last mitzvah. Okay, you can write one letter or a full Torah, but in your life you are supposed to be and participate in writing a Torah scroll. So every year, at this time of the year, I think about a book that is holier than the Torah, the book of life. But this year, this particular Rosh Hashanah, I wanted to share with you a story, and hopefully will add more holiness to the Torah and to the book of life as well. It is not necessary for me to tell you how much COVID had brought disruptions in our lives. Many disruptions. And among the many disturbances that happened, the bar and bat mitzvah families had to reschedule, reconfigure, reframe, rethink, all the you may imagine, with their celebration. So some of them did it via Zoom, some in person with a minyan, some masks, some unmasked, some did it in a backyard. And you may imagine that there were many nuances last year or during this year that just finished about the B'nai Mitzvah celebration. One family I know decided to celebrate their daughter's bat mitzvah in a park. They contacted their synagogue and asked permission to borrow a Torah scroll. They picked up the scroll on Thursday and returned it on Sunday. The celebration went great. The bat mitzvah girl, her family and friends felt very accomplished, and it was a total success. The part of the story I want to share with you is a conversation I had with the parents the week after their simcha. They were grateful, happy and thankful, and they shared with me the following words. Rabbi, for 4 days we had our Torah scroll in our home. We picked it up from shul, wrapped it in a talit, and we placed it in a special place in our home. We made room for it, and we were so careful, so mindful, so cautious when the Torah was there. Our kids talked to each other in a respectful way. There were no screams in the house. We were more gentle, more sympathetic with each other. We ate meals together, and we were on time at the table. We changed for good. When we returned the Torah to the shul, we left the space where we placed the Torah scroll empty as a reminder of the holiness we have in our midst. That's a true story that I wanted to share with you. And when I heard those words, when I heard that story, I was really, really moved. It made me think of the holy spaces in our lives. Now, I would like to challenge you. I would like to invite you this year to imagine you have a Torah scroll in your home every day. Can we be gentler with each other? Can we be more attentive, more mindful, more committed to each other? Imagine you decide to dedicate a space in your home, a real space, in your living room or your dining room, where your imaginary scroll is placed, and think how that simple thought can change your life. Think of a real change in your life that will help you to relate to others with more kindness. According to our tradition, after the temple was destroyed, every home became a mikdash me'at, a small temple, and every table in the homes became a small altar. So as we start the new year, I want to encourage you to transform your home into a mikdash me'at, a small sanctuary, and to live the year as if you carry a Torah all the time with you, 24/7. To have a year that will be a blessing from the beginning to the end, from the first mitzvah to the last one. I wish to my B'nai Tzedek family that every place we meet, we find a partner. We feel our relationships with kindness and feel the holiness of our tradition. I hope each of us can write his or her book of life, and in it, the greatest stories this year. I pray that we all are inscribed in the book of life. Shana Tova.